The sun was just rising over the Nevada desert, spreading long orange streaks across the sand and rock. The desert was quiet except for the faint wind that whispered across the dunes. But that morning the calm was broken by a loud rumble, a sound that did not belong to any desert animal or the wind. People in nearby towns thought it was an earthquake at first, but it was something far stranger. High above, in the thin blue sky, a small object streaked across the horizon, moving much faster than a plane. Its shape was unlike anything humans had ever built. It glowed faintly with strange colors, and it left a smoky trail behind it. Nathan Brooks, a young Air Force officer, was in his small observation post on the edge of a military base. He had been on watch all night, checking satellite feeds and monitoring unusual activity. Most nights were boring. Usually it was just the normal radar blips and the occasional weather balloon. But today something big had changed. The radar had picked up an unknown object descending rapidly toward the Earth's surface. Nathan's heart raced as he adjusted his binoculars and tried to focus on the streaking craft. Laura Bennett, a civilian scientist, was already on her way to the crash site. She had been called by the military earlier that morning after the object had entered the atmosphere. Laura worked for a small research institute that studied unusual space signals, and she had spent years hoping to see something like this. Now, as her jeep bounced along the sandy desert road, she couldn't stop thinking about what she might find. She tried to keep her mind focused, but excitement and fear battled in her chest. By the time Nathan and Laura arrived at the crash site, the desert was filled with smoke and the smell of burning metal. The object had landed in a small crater, tearing up the earth and leaving twisted fragments of its hull scattered over a wide area. Nathan parked the jeep a safe distance away. "Stay back," he told Laura. "We don't know if it's dangerous." Laura nodded. Her eyes were wide, scanning the crater. Even from this distance, she could see something moving inside. Slowly, Nathan and Laura approached. As they got closer, they saw figures struggling to climb out of the wreckage. They were not human. The creatures were tall, thin, and covered in pale, smooth skin. Their eyes were large and dark, reflecting the sunlight like black glass. They moved carefully as if every motion hurt. Some of them were supported by others. One of the creatures, a small one, seemed too weak to stand at all. Nathan's hand went to his radio. "We need medical teams," he said quietly. Now the creatures did not attack. They looked terrified, their large eyes scanning the desert and the humans standing near the crater. Laura stepped forward slowly. "They are not dangerous," she said. "They look scared, like they need help." Nathan studied her for a moment. He had spent years training to assess threats, but he had never seen anything like this. "All right," he said. "But we stay cautious." One of the creatures, taller than the rest and moving with slow dignity, raised a hand as if to speak. Its voice was strange, a series of soft clicks and hums. Laura quickly pulled out a small translator device from her bag. It was experimental, and it could interpret basic sounds from alien species. She switched it on and aimed it toward the creature. The device buzzed and clicked, and then a voice spoke in broken English. "We need help." Nathan's eyes widened. "Did it just say that?" he asked. Laura nodded. "Yes, the translator is working. They are asking for help." The alien raised its hand again, pointing to the smaller, weaker creatures. Laura approached carefully. One of the aliens, a small one, was lying on the ground, barely moving. Laura knelt and gently examined it. It was cold and weak, and its breathing was shallow. "We need to get them out of the sun," she said. Nathan ran back to the jeep to call for more help. Medical teams would take time to arrive, and the aliens could not wait. Laura and Nathan helped the aliens into makeshift shelters, covering them with blankets and using water from their supplies to revive them. Slowly, the weaker creatures began to stir, opening their large eyes and looking around in confusion. They did not speak at first. They only blinked and seemed to study their surroundings. Nathan felt a strange mix of fear and awe. He had trained for unknown threats his whole life, but this was unlike anything he had imagined. Finally, the taller alien spoke again. "Ship, broken. Cannot move. Pursued." The translator was only partial, but Laura understood the meaning. "They were fleeing from something," she said. "And they didn't mean to come here." Nathan frowned. "Fleeing? From what?" He looked at the sky, half expecting more objects to appear. "We have to assume it's serious." Over the next few hours, Nathan and Laura worked to make the aliens as comfortable as possible. They shared water, food, and blankets. They spoke softly to the creatures, trying to gain their trust. Slowly, the aliens began to respond. One of the small ones reached out and touched Laura's hand, a gesture that seemed to show trust. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. They were intelligent, gentle, and vulnerable, and they were completely out of their element. As the day passed, satellite images and radar reports confirmed what Nathan feared. Several large ships were moving toward Earth at incredible speed. These were not ordinary space vessels. They were military ships designed for war. Nathan called in his superior officers. "We have a problem," he said. "These aliens are being chased. If their pursuers reach Earth, it could be a disaster." In a meeting with top officials, Nathan and Laura described what they had seen. The alien refugees were peaceful, weak, and scared. But the ships approaching Earth were powerful and aggressive. The officials debated what to do. Some argued for hiding the aliens and pretending nothing had happened. Others suggested preparing weapons just in case. Laura spoke up, her voice firm. "We cannot just leave them to die. If we have the chance to help, we must. Humans are capable of standing between them and danger." Nathan agreed. He knew that the coming days would not be easy. Earth had never faced an alien threat of this kind, and the Terrans were largely unprepared. But he also knew that humans had something the invaders could not expect: courage, creativity, and the ability to fight when the odds seemed impossible. By evening, the aliens had been moved to a hidden facility under strict security. Nathan and Laura worked with a small team of trusted soldiers and scientists to make the place safe. The aliens, though still frightened, were beginning to show small signs of relief. They ate, drank, and even attempted to communicate more clearly. Saren, a young pilot among the refugees, tried to draw shapes in the dirt, showing what had happened to their ship. Kayla, the elder, spoke in broken words, warning that their pursuers would not stop. Outside, the desert was calm again, but Nathan knew it would not stay that way. The sky was filled with stars, and far beyond them, the alien fleet approached. The first contact had been made, and the Terrans had a choice: hide and hope for survival, or stand between the refugees and the danger that followed them. Nathan looked at Laura, determination in his eyes. "We can't let them die," he said. Laura nodded. "We won't, not if we can help it." As night fell, the refugees huddled in their makeshift sanctuary, exhausted but alive. Nathan and Laura took turns keeping watch. Every shadow, every sound made them alert. They did not know what the next day would bring, but they knew one thing clearly. Humans were about to step into a war that was not theirs by right, but by choice. And that choice would show the galaxy the true spirit of Earth. In the quiet of the desert, with the stars above and the refugees nearby, Nathan felt a strange pride. They were strangers, weak and scared, but they had landed on a planet where someone would stand for them. And in that moment, Nathan understood that humanity had something the universe could never easily destroy: the courage to fight, even for those who were not like them. As the first night passed, Laura watched the stars through the small window of the facility. She thought about the vastness of space, the fragility of life, and the unexpected twists that had brought these aliens to Earth. She whispered softly to herself, "We have to protect them, no matter what comes." And somewhere in the wreckage of the desert, the Xiphorian refugees slept, unaware that their crash had just begun a story that would change the way the galaxy saw Earth forever. The morning sun rose over the Nevada desert, casting long shadows across the crash site. Nathan Brooks stood outside the hidden facility, scanning the horizon with binoculars. The desert seemed empty, but he knew better. He had seen the radar reports. Large ships were coming closer to Earth, not ordinary ships. These were warships. Nathan's stomach twisted with worry. He had never seen anything like them, and he knew the humans were not ready for what was coming. Laura Bennett joined him, holding a cup of coffee. She looked tired but determined. "Any signs yet?" she asked. Nathan shook his head. "Nothing visible yet, but they're getting closer. We have maybe a few days before they reach Earth's orbit." Laura sipped her coffee. "Days aren't much time. We need a plan, Nathan. We can't just hide the aliens forever." Nathan frowned. "I know, but we also can't fight them with what we have. Their weapons, they are too advanced." Inside the facility, the Xiphorian refugees were slowly recovering. Saren, the young pilot, sat on a cot, drawing strange symbols in the dust with a stick. Kayla, the elder, watched him, her large eyes filled with worry. "They will come soon," she said softly. Her voice was calm but firm. The translator device repeated her words in broken English. "They will come soon." Laura knelt beside her. "We will help you," she said. "We won't let them harm you." Kyla nodded slowly, but fear remained in her eyes. Nathan gathered a small group of soldiers and scientists for an emergency meeting. In a small room filled with maps and computer screens, he pointed to the radar images. "These are the ships heading our way," he said. "They are fast, heavily armed, and they won't stop until they find the refugees. We need a plan to protect them." One of the soldiers, a tall man named Eric, raised his hand. "We can't fight them head-on," he said. "They'll destroy us before we even get close." Nathan nodded. "I know. That's why we need to think differently. We need traps, tricks, and ways to use the desert to our advantage." Laura opened her laptop and showed the group the information she had collected from the Xiphorians. "These creatures have technology," she said. "It's different from ours, but we can use parts of it. Their ship had shields, engines, and weapons that we can study. If we combine their knowledge with our tactics, we might have a chance." The soldiers looked at each other nervously. Nathan took a deep breath. "It won't be easy, but we have to try. These aliens trusted us. We can't let them down." Over the next few hours, the humans and the Xiphorians worked together. Saren explained some of the ship's systems, showing the humans how energy could be redirected and how sensors could detect movement at long distances. Nathan and his soldiers practiced setting traps in the desert. They dug shallow pits, placed decoy signals, and set up electronic interference devices to confuse enemy sensors. Laura monitored communications and tried to improve the translator device so they could better understand the Xiphorians' warnings. Meanwhile, Kayla and other elders of the Xiphorians shared more about their pursuers. "Korath," Kayla said through the translator. "They kill all. No mercy, fast, strong, many ships." The humans listened carefully. Eric shook his head. "This is worse than we thought. They won't stop. They will follow them to Earth." Nathan clenched his fists. "Then we have to make them regret it. We can't let them think Earth is easy to take." By late afternoon, the humans had created a small defensive perimeter around the facility. They used the natural features of the desert, rocky ridges, sand dunes, and dry riverbeds, to hide traps and create ambush points. Nathan walked along the perimeter with Laura, inspecting the defenses. "Do you think it's enough?" she asked. Nathan shook his head. "I hope so. But these Korath, we won't know until they arrive. We have to be ready for anything." The aliens watched the preparations with curiosity and fear. Saren helped the humans set up sensor arrays, small devices that could detect movement and energy signatures. "They will come from above," he said, pointing to the sky. "And they will try to find us. But if you use the land, you can hide. Humans, clever." Laura smiled faintly. "Cleverness may be all we have," she said. Nathan nodded. "And courage. That too." As night fell, the desert grew quiet again. The stars shone brightly, but the humans knew the peace was only temporary. Nathan and Laura took shifts keeping watch, listening to the wind and the faint hum of machines. Every so often, the translator picked up a sound from the Xiphorians. Kyla spoke softly to the refugees, telling them to rest but remain alert. Saren checked the sensors, making sure nothing was out of place. Suddenly, a faint signal appeared on the radar. Nathan squinted at the screen. "Something's coming," he said. The others gathered around. The signal was weak, distant, but unmistakable. Warships. The Korath were approaching faster than expected. Eric cursed under his breath. "We might not have much time." Laura leaned over the screen. "We need to test the traps now, see if they work as planned." Nathan nodded. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." The next day was a whirlwind of activity. Soldiers moved quickly, digging, setting devices, and preparing weapons. Laura and the Xiphorians worked on technology, trying to boost sensors and shields. Nathan coordinated every step, making sure the humans and aliens worked together efficiently. For the first time, the refugees began to smile slightly. They were still afraid, but they felt safer knowing humans were willing to fight for them. By afternoon, reports from satellites and ground stations confirmed the Korath fleet was near. Thousands of kilometers away, massive warships moved like dark shadows in space. Nathan called a meeting with Laura, Eric, and Saren. "They are coming faster than we expected," he said. Saren studied the maps. "They do not stop. Only one goal: kill the weak." Laura's hands shook slightly as she pointed to the positions. "If we can lure them into the traps, we may slow them down." We can't fight all at once, but we can make them hesitate. The humans and Xiphorians prepared signals and decoys. Small drones flew ahead carrying false energy signatures to confuse the Korath. Nathan positioned soldiers in hidden bunkers ready to ambush. Laura monitored communications, listening for patterns in the approaching fleet. Saren and the other aliens helped adjust the technology to amplify signals and create false readings. As night fell again, tension filled the desert. Every sound, every shadow was a potential threat. Nathan walked among the soldiers, checking their readiness. "Remember," he said quietly, "we may be outgunned, but we are not outsmarted. Use your brains. Use the land. Protect these creatures, and trust each other." The soldiers nodded. Their faces were grim but determined. They knew they were facing an enemy unlike any Earth had seen before. In the hidden facility, the Xiphorians huddled together. Kayla spoke softly to the young ones. "They fight for us," she said through the translator. "Humans, brave. Earth, safe place." Saren adjusted the sensors, watching the sky. "Soon a fight comes. Be ready." The refugees looked to the humans with hope. They had never imagined a species so small and fragile could be willing to risk everything to protect them. The first scouts of the Korath fleet appeared on long-range sensors just before dawn. Nathan and Laura rushed to the observation deck, staring at the distant points of light moving rapidly toward Earth. The warships were enormous, dark, and menacing. Nathan's heart pounded. "They are real," he said. Laura's voice was steady. "And they are coming for the refugees. But we are ready." Eric stepped beside them, checking his weapons and gear. "Ready or not, they'll hit us hard. We have to make every second count." Nathan nodded. "We fight smart. We fight together. And we do not let them reach the refugees." Saren and Kayla stood behind the humans, silent but alert. The Xiphorians had no weapons, but their presence was important. Their lives depended on the humans, and their trust gave Nathan and the others a reason to fight harder. The desert was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the wind across the dunes. Far above, the stars hid the approach of the enemy, but Nathan, Laura, and the soldiers knew what was coming. The first battle for Earth had not yet begun, but every preparation, every trap, and every strategy would be tested soon. Humans and aliens worked together, combining courage, cleverness, and hope. They were ready to stand between the refugees and the approaching danger, no matter what the cost. In that quiet desert, as night turned to dawn, the Terrans proved something important. They were small, young, and not as strong as the invaders, but they were smart, brave, and willing to protect those who could not protect themselves. And that would make all the difference when the Korath finally arrived. The first day of preparation ended, but the fight had not yet begun. Nathan and Laura took a moment to look at the refugees who were beginning to rest with a little less fear. Saren, Kayla, and the others had survived the crash, but the real danger was only hours away. Nathan clenched his fists. "We will not let them die," he said. Laura nodded, determination in her eyes. "Not while we are here." Above the desert, stars twinkled, and far away in space, the Korath fleet moved steadily toward Earth. They did not know what awaited them. But the humans below were ready to show the galaxy that Earth was not a world to underestimate. The desert was calm under the early morning sun, but inside the hidden facility, tension was thick. Nathan Brooks and Laura Bennett moved quickly through the narrow hallways, checking on both the human soldiers and the Xiphorian refugees. After 2 days of preparation, everyone was exhausted but alert. The Korath fleet had not yet reached Earth, but scouts had been detected near the outer edges of the solar system. Every hour brought the enemy closer, and every moment counted. Inside the main room, Saren and Kayla sat with the other Xiphorians, communicating through the translator. Saren traced lines in the dust, showing the humans the movements of the Korath ships and how they attacked other planets. "They strike fast," he said, his voice shaky but firm. "They destroy everything. No one survives." Laura knelt beside him. "We will make sure that doesn't happen here," she said. Saren nodded slowly, a faint spark of hope in his large black eyes. Nathan gathered his soldiers. "We cannot face the Korath in open battle. They are too strong. But we can use the land. We can use their mistakes. And we can use their fear of the unknown." Eric, one of the soldiers, frowned. "You mean traps and ambushes? That will only delay them. They'll keep coming." Nathan shook his head. "Yes, but every second we delay them is a second the refugees survive. And every mistake they make gives us knowledge." Outside, the desert was harsh and unforgiving. The sand stretched for miles, dotted with rocky ridges and small cliffs. Nathan and his team had placed motion sensors, decoy signals, and hidden devices all over the area. They had dug shallow pits covered with thin layers of sand and set up electronic interference devices that could confuse the enemy ship's sensors. Laura worked with Saren to improve the devices, combining human electronics with Zyphorian energy technology. As the sun climbed higher, a small group of scouts from the Korath fleet appeared in orbit. They were fast, sleek, and deadly. Nathan, Laura, and the soldiers watched them carefully on radar screens. "They're probing," Laura said, "testing the defenses. They don't know what's waiting for them yet." Nathan nodded. "Good, let them come. We are ready." The first contact happened in the early afternoon. A scout ship swooped low over the desert, its sensors scanning for the hidden facility. The humans held their breath as the alien ship moved closer to the traps. Suddenly, a loud blast echoed across the canyon. One of the hidden devices triggered, sending a burst of energy that disrupted the scout systems. The ship wobbled and veered off course, then retreated quickly to orbit. The humans and Zyphorians exchanged looks of relief. The traps had worked. Saren smiled faintly. "They will learn. But we still have time." Kayla nodded. "Time is short. They will not wait long." Nathan turned to the soldiers. "We must continue. Every trap, every sensor, every ambush must be ready. We cannot afford mistakes." The soldiers nodded, their faces grim but determined. They worked through the day, improving the defenses and preparing for the next wave of Korath ships. By evening, the humans had made several changes to the plan. Laura had modified the sensors to detect energy fluctuations in the enemy ships. Saren and other Zyphorians helped set up small drones to act as decoys, showing false energy signatures to confuse the Korath. Nathan and Eric studied the terrain, finding natural choke points and hidden pathways that could be used to their advantage. The desert was no longer empty. It had become a battlefield prepared by human cleverness and alien knowledge. The refugees watched the humans work with fascination. For the first time, they saw that humans were not just small and weak creatures. They were clever, brave, and willing to fight for those who could not defend themselves. Saren approached Laura during a break. "Your people. They think fast. They fight with mind, not just strength. Clever humans." Laura smiled faintly. "We have to. It's our only chance." Saren nodded. "Then maybe we survive." Night fell and the temperature dropped. The humans lit small fires near observation points, careful not to reveal their positions. Nathan and Laura took turns watching the sky with binoculars, listening to radar and checking sensors. Eric and the soldiers patrolled the perimeter, moving quietly through the sand and rocks. Every small movement in the desert could mean danger, so they stayed alert. Suddenly, a faint signal appeared on the radar. Another Korath scout had approached from the east. Nathan whispered to Laura, "They are testing different paths now. They are cautious but persistent." Laura nodded. "We can use this. Let them think they are finding the facility. Lead them into the traps." Nathan gave the signal and the soldiers activated hidden devices. As the scout flew over a rocky ridge, an energy pulse erupted, temporarily disabling its systems. The scout wobbled and retreated in confusion, giving the humans valuable time. The success brought hope, but Nathan knew it was only the beginning. "They will learn from this," he said to Laura, "and the next wave will be stronger." Laura looked at him. "Then we must be smarter, faster. Every mistake we make costs lives." Nathan nodded. "And every success gives hope. That is what we fight for." The following day, the humans continued their preparations, but something changed. The Zyphorians began to contribute more actively. Saren helped train soldiers to use alien energy devices, showing them how to redirect power and amplify signals. Kayla taught the humans how to read energy patterns, giving them clues about the Korath's movements. Even the young Zyphorians, who were once afraid and silent, began to help with small tasks, placing sensors and checking traps. Nathan watched them work and felt a strange sense of pride. "We are stronger together," he said quietly to Laura. "Humans and Zyphorians. We can face this because we trust each other." Laura nodded. "And because we refuse to give up." As evening approached, scouts detected a small fleet of Korath ships moving closer to Earth. Nathan, Laura, Eric, and the others studied their movements carefully. "They are cautious," Laura said. They've learned from the first failures, but they are still overconfident. They think humans are weak. Nathan clenched his fists. Then we show them that humans are more than they expect, that we fight not just for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight. The first night battle began when one of the Korath ships entered the range of the traps. The humans waited silently, listening to the faint hum of approaching engines. Nathan gave the signal. Energy pulses, decoy signals, and hidden devices activated at the same time. The Korath ship tried to adjust, but the traps confused its systems. It veered into a shallow canyon where another device triggered, sending a blast of energy that forced it to retreat. The humans cheered quietly, careful not to reveal their location. Saren looked at Nathan and smiled faintly. Clever, very clever. Humans fight with mind. We can learn from this, Nathan smiled back. We fight to survive. And to protect you? Kayla nodded. Then maybe hope is not lost. Over the next few days, small skirmishes continued. The Korath scouts probed the desert, testing defenses, but every attempt was met with clever human tactics. Nathan and Laura improved strategies after each encounter, learning from successes and failures. Eric and the soldiers grew more confident, moving efficiently through the desert and using every natural feature to their advantage. The Xiphorians contributed knowledge and energy devices, helping to strengthen the defenses. The humans and aliens began to bond. They shared stories, learned about each other's worlds, and found common ground despite their differences. Laura and Saren often stayed late, discussing technology and tactics. Nathan spent time with Kayla, learning about the Xiphorians' culture and fears. Slowly, trust grew and the refugees began to feel safer. They saw that humans were not only willing to fight for them, but willing to understand them. By the fifth day, the Korath fleet had approached closer than ever. Satellite images showed a massive formation of warships in orbit. Nathan called a meeting with all the humans and Xiphorians. This is it, he said. The real battle is coming. We've delayed them, confused them, and tested our traps. But now we fight together, humans and Xiphorians. We protect life. We show courage, and we will not back down. The Xiphorians nodded. Saren clenched his fists. We fight with you together. Kayla spoke softly. Earth, safe humans, brave. Laura looked at Nathan. We are ready, she said. Nathan took a deep breath. Then let's make sure they know that Earth is not an easy target. That night, under the stars, humans and Xiphorians worked together, finalizing traps, setting sensors, and preparing for the first real engagement. The desert was quiet, but everyone knew the calm would not last. The Korath were coming, and the battle for Earth and the refugees was about to begin. Nathan stood at the edge of the facility looking at the stars. We may be small, he whispered to Laura, but we are brave, and that will make all the difference. Laura nodded. Yes, we fight for life, for hope, and for those who cannot defend themselves. And that is what makes us strong. In the quiet of the desert, as the night wind whispered across the dunes, humans and Xiphorians prepared to face an enemy unlike any Earth had seen. Together they were learning, adapting, and proving that courage and cleverness could challenge even the most powerful threats. And far above, in the dark reaches of space, the Korath fleet moved closer, unaware that their prey had allies willing to fight beyond what they expected. The first light of dawn touched the Nevada desert, painting the sand in soft gold. Nathan Brooks stood at the edge of the hidden facility, his eyes scanning the horizon. The wind whispered across the dunes, carrying with it the dry scent of sand. But far above, in the thin blue sky, something dark and threatening moved. The Korath fleet had arrived. Hundreds of warships, massive and black, glided through the upper atmosphere, their engines humming like the growl of a predator. Each ship was armed with weapons far stronger than anything Earth had built. Nathan's heart pounded as he watched the distant ships approach. He knew that one wrong move could destroy everything. Laura Bennett joined him, holding a portable device that showed the energy signals from the Korath ships. They are scanning for us, she said quietly. They will find the trap soon. We have to act fast. Nathan nodded. All units stay alert. Everyone knows the plan. We delay them, confuse them, and protect the refugees. Nothing more, nothing less. Inside the facility, the Xiphorians were tense. Saren stood by the sensors, checking energy patterns. Kayla watched the humans, hope and fear in her eyes. They come, she said simply. The translator repeated her words. They come. The refugees whispered among themselves, gripping each other's hands. They were afraid, but they trusted the humans. Nathan and Eric moved soldiers to key positions along the desert perimeter. The traps were ready: hidden energy pulses, decoy drones, shallow pits, and interference devices. Laura activated the sensors that would confuse the Korath ship's targeting systems. Saren adjusted alien energy devices to amplify the signals, creating false readings that would mislead the enemy. Every detail mattered. Every second counted. The first Korath ship swooped low over the desert, scanning for the hidden facility. Its sensors swept the dunes, searching for life signs and energy emissions. Nathan held his breath. "Wait for my signal," he whispered. The soldiers crouched behind rocks and sand dunes, ready to trigger the first trap. Nathan pressed a small device, and suddenly, a pulse of energy erupted in the desert. The Korath ship's sensors overloaded and its engines wobbled. The scout ship tried to adjust, but another trap triggered. A shallow pit opened, sending the ship into a small canyon. A blast from an energy device disabled part of its systems, forcing it to retreat. The humans cheered quietly. The first strike had worked. Saren looked at Nathan and smiled faintly. "Clever humans. Very clever. They cannot see everything," Nathan nodded. "We fight smart. That is our strength." Laura adjusted the sensors, tracking other ships approaching from orbit. "They are learning," she said. "But we can stay ahead if we act quickly." The second wave of Korath ships moved lower, trying to avoid the traps. Nathan and Eric led small squads of soldiers to ambush points along the desert ridges. They waited silently, listening to the hum of engines and the faint vibration of approaching ships. Laura activated interference devices, sending false signals to confuse the enemy. When the Korath ships reached the ambush points, the humans struck. Energy pulses and small explosions erupted, forcing the ships to veer off course. The soldiers fired small but powerful weapons, damaging sensors and engines. The Korath were surprised. They expected easy prey, but the humans were clever and unpredictable. Saren guided the humans, showing them where the ships were most vulnerable. "Hit the engines," he said. "Hit their sensors. Make them blind." The soldiers followed his instructions, striking precisely at the weak points. One by one, the Korath ships were forced to retreat, at least temporarily. Kayla watched from the facility. "They fight, not with strength but with mind," she said softly. "Humans are brave." Nathan looked at her. "We fight for life. That is why we are strong." The Xiphorians nodded, hope growing in their hearts. They saw that humans were willing to risk everything to protect them. As the day progressed, the battle continued. More Korath ships arrived, moving faster and in larger numbers. Nathan and Laura coordinated every move, using the desert terrain, traps, and alien technology to their advantage. The humans were outgunned, but their clever tactics and courage caused confusion among the Korath. Small victories gave them hope, and small losses taught them lessons. At one point, a large Korath warship broke through the traps and headed directly toward the hidden facility. Nathan gave the signal. Soldiers fired energy devices and small weapons, forcing it to change course. Laura activated a decoy drone, making the ship think the facility was in a different location. The Korath adjusted, but more traps awaited them. The warship finally retreated, damaged and confused. Saren watched with wide eyes. "They cannot believe humans do this," he said. "Clever, brave, very brave." Nathan smiled faintly. "We fight because it is right. That is all the strength we need." The Xiphorians began to help more actively. They used their energy devices to amplify the humans' traps and confuse the enemy further. Even the younger Xiphorians, who were scared at first, took part in small but important tasks, activating sensors, monitoring energy patterns, and helping the soldiers understand alien signals. Trust and teamwork grew stronger with every attack. By nightfall, the desert was quiet again. The humans and Xiphorians gathered in the facility, checking their devices and repairing what had been damaged. Nathan looked at the soldiers. "We did well today," he said. "But this is only the beginning. The main fleet is still in orbit, and they will come again. We must rest but stay alert." "Every second counts," Laura nodded. "We have learned much today, and we have proven that humans are not easy to defeat." Saren smiled faintly. "Yes, they see now. Humans, clever. Humans, strong." Kayla added softly. "And brave." The refugees looked at the humans with respect and hope. For the first time, they felt that survival was possible. During the night, Nathan and Laura discussed strategies for the next day. "We cannot let them settle into a pattern," Nathan said. We have to keep them guessing, make them think we are weaker than we are, then strike where they least expect it. Laura nodded. And we use everything we have. Human cleverness, the desert terrain, and Xiphorian technology. They cannot anticipate everything. The Korath ships had not expected the resistance they encountered. They assumed humans would hide or surrender, but instead humans fought with intelligence, courage, and creativity. Every ambush, every trap, every small victory weakened their confidence. Nathan knew that while the humans were outgunned, they had an advantage the Korath could not understand: unpredictability. The next morning, scouts reported that more Korath ships were approaching, larger and faster than before. Nathan, Laura, and Eric quickly adjusted the defenses. The Xiphorians helped as much as they could, sharing knowledge about energy shields, sensors, and evasive tactics. Nathan walked among the soldiers, checking readiness. "Remember," he said, "we are fighting not just for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight. Stay smart, stay brave, and trust each other." The first engagement of the day began with a small fleet of Korath ships trying to attack from multiple directions. Nathan activated the traps and the soldiers took their positions. Laura guided them through the sensors, predicting the enemy's movements. Saren directed energy devices, creating false readings to mislead the Korath. The battle was intense, loud, and dangerous, but every action was carefully planned. The Korath ships were forced to split up, avoid traps, and retreat several times. The humans' clever tactics, combined with the Xiphorians' technology, caused confusion and frustration. Nathan watched the enemy retreat and felt a small surge of hope. "We can do this," he said. "We can protect the refugees." Laura smiled faintly. "Yes, together, humans and Xiphorians. That is our strength." By the evening, both humans and Xiphorians were exhausted but alive. They had survived the first full battle using brains, courage, and teamwork to overcome an enemy far stronger than themselves. Nathan gathered everyone together. "Today we proved that courage and cleverness can challenge even the strongest forces," he said. "We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are humans and we protect life. That is what makes us strong." Saren and Kayla nodded. "Earth, safe," Kayla said. "Humans, brave." The refugees looked at the humans with respect and hope. They had survived because humans stood between them and the danger. They had seen what humans could do when they refused to back down. As night fell, the desert was quiet again. The Korath fleet lingered in orbit, observing, planning, and frustrated by the unexpected resistance. Nathan and Laura watched the stars, knowing the battle was far from over. But they had sent a clear message: Earth would not be an easy target, and humans were not creatures to be underestimated. In the quiet desert, with the refugees safe for the moment, humans and Xiphorians prepared for the next wave. They repaired devices, strengthened defenses, and reinforced trust. Nathan whispered to Laura, "We fight not because we have to, but because it is right. That is what makes humans strong." Laura nodded. "And that strength will show the Korath that Earth is not their prey." Far above, the Korath fleet waited, unaware that the small planet below had defended life with courage, cleverness, and determination. The first battle had ended, but the war was only beginning. Humans had shown the galaxy their spirit, and it was a spirit that could not be broken easily. The morning sun rose slowly over the Nevada desert, casting long shadows across the sand dunes and rocky ridges. Nathan Brooks stood at the edge of the hidden facility, looking up at the sky. The Korath fleet had returned, larger and more organized than before. Hundreds of warships moved steadily in formation, their dark hulls glinting in the sunlight. The air felt heavy with tension, and even the wind seemed to pause in fear. Laura Bennett joined Nathan holding the portable sensor device. "They've learned from the last battle," she said quietly. "They won't make the same mistakes. They know we are clever now." Nathan nodded. "Then we need to be smarter, faster, and braver. Every move counts. Every second is precious." He turned to Eric and the soldiers who were checking their weapons and devices. "Stay sharp, stay calm, and remember why we fight. We fight for life." Inside the facility, the Xiphorian refugees were tense but determined. Saren paced near the sensors, studying the incoming ships. Kayla spoke quietly to the younger Xiphorians. "They come to destroy, but humans protect. Trust humans, Earth, safe." The translator repeated her words in broken English, giving the refugees a small comfort. The humans had spent the night repairing traps, adjusting sensors, and preparing decoy devices. Laura had combined human technology with Zephyrian energy systems, creating new devices that could send false signals, redirect energy, and confuse the Korath sensors. Nathan walked among the soldiers, checking their positions and encouraging them. "We are the Guardians today. We stand between the innocent and danger. That is our duty. That is our strength." At midday, the first Korath ships entered the atmosphere, scanning for life signs and energy emissions. Nathan gave the signal and the traps activated. Energy pulses, decoy drones, and interference devices erupted across the desert. The Korath ships faltered, engines wobbling as sensors failed. The soldiers fired small but powerful weapons, striking weak points in the alien ships. The first wave was forced to retreat, damaged and confused. Saren observed the battle and nodded. "Clever humans. Very clever. They learn fast. They adapt." Laura smiled faintly. "That is what we do. We survive, and we protect life." The refugees watched in awe as humans and Zyphorians worked together, fighting with brains, courage, and hope. The Korath adjusted, sending more ships in a coordinated attack. Nathan and Eric moved the soldiers to new positions, using the terrain to their advantage. The desert became a maze of traps, decoys, and hidden defenses. Every ridge, canyon, and dune was used to confuse the enemy. Laura monitored energy patterns, guiding the soldiers and adjusting devices to counter the Korath attacks. The battle was intense. Ships swooped low, firing powerful energy blasts. Nathan and his team dodged, struck back, and used every device at their disposal. Saren and the other Zyphorians assisted with energy redirection and false signals. Even the younger Zyphorians helped, activating sensors and monitoring devices with careful precision. Humans and aliens were united in purpose, their teamwork stronger than any individual power. At one point, a large Korath warship broke through the defenses, heading straight for the facility. Nathan gave the signal and the soldiers fired all their weapons. Laura activated a decoy, making the ship think the facility was elsewhere. The warship veered off, only to trigger hidden energy pulses that disabled its engines. It wobbled and retreated, badly damaged. The humans had shown that brains and courage could overcome strength. Kayla watched from the facility. "They fight, not with strength but with mind," she said softly. "Humans, brave. Protect life." Nathan looked at her. "We fight because it is right. That is what makes us strong." The refugees nodded, hope growing in their hearts. They realized humans were willing to risk everything to save them. As the sun began to set, the Korath fleet attempted a final, large-scale attack. Hundreds of ships moved in formation, aiming to overwhelm the defenses. Nathan and Laura coordinated every action. Traps, decoys, and energy pulses were used simultaneously, creating chaos in the enemy fleet. Soldiers moved quickly between positions, firing at weak points and activating devices. Saren guided the humans, showing them where the enemy ships were most vulnerable. The Korath were frustrated. They expected easy prey, but the humans were clever, unpredictable, and brave. Every attack was countered, every trap evaded or turned against the enemy. The fleet began to falter. Some ships were damaged and forced to retreat. Others collided or misfired as the humans' tactics created confusion. Nathan and Laura exchanged a brief smile. "It's working," Laura whispered. Nathan nodded. "But we can't stop now. We finish this together." As darkness fell, the final phase of the battle began. Nathan led a small strike team to the desert ridges, ready to intercept any Korath ships that broke through the traps. Laura and Saren monitored sensors, guiding them precisely. Eric and the soldiers prepared for close-range defense, ready to strike at critical points in the enemy fleet. The Zyphorians activated energy devices that amplified the humans' attacks, creating a coordinated force that the Korath could not understand. The final Korath ship approached the hidden facility, engines glowing and weapons ready. Nathan gave the signal. Soldiers fired energy blasts, hidden devices activated, and decoy drones confused the enemy's targeting systems. The ship veered into a trap, engines failing as an energy pulse disabled its systems. Another device sent false signals, making the ship crash into the desert dunes, destroying it completely. The humans had done it. The Korath fleet was forced to retreat. Saren watched the enemy fleet move away. They leave. Human, strong, clever, brave. Kayla nodded slowly. Earth, safe, humans, heroes. The refugees smiled faintly, relief washing over them. They had survived because humans had stood between them and the danger. Humans had shown courage, intelligence, and determination beyond what the Korath expected. Nathan and Laura walked among the soldiers, checking on everyone. "We did it," Nathan said quietly. "We protected the refugees. We showed them what humans can do," Laura smiled. "Yes, and we proved that courage, cleverness, and teamwork can overcome even the strongest enemy." Eric added, "They'll never underestimate humans again." Nathan nodded. "Good. Let them remember that Earth is not easy to take." The Xiphorians began to speak with the humans more openly. Saren and the younger refugees asked questions about Earth, human culture, and technology. Kyla shared knowledge of their own world and their people's history. Humans and Xiphorians bonded, forming trust and friendship that would last long after the battle. Laura and Nathan watched them, realizing that the crash had brought more than danger. It had brought a chance for understanding between species. Over the next few days, humans and Xiphorians repaired the damaged devices, studied the Korath tactics, and strengthened the facility. Nathan knew the Korath could return, but he also knew humans had shown the galaxy something important. Earth was defended by more than just weapons. It was defended by courage, intelligence, and the will to protect life. The refugees prepared to leave Earth when their ships were repaired. Saren thanked Nathan and Laura personally. "You saved us," he said. "Humans. Brave, clever, protect life. We remember this," Kayla added softly. "Earth, safe. Humans, heroes." Nathan smiled. "We did what was right. That is all any of us can do." Laura nodded. "And we will never forget this. You're friends now, not strangers." As the Xiphorian ships departed, the humans watched them rise into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind. Nathan felt a sense of pride. The refugees were safe. The Korath were defeated for now, and humanity had shown the galaxy its true spirit. They were not weak, not passive, not naive. They were brave, clever, and capable of standing against the impossible. In the quiet of the desert, the sun rose again, casting light on the facility and the surrounding dunes. Nathan and Laura walked among the soldiers who were cleaning, repairing, and resting. Eric approached Nathan. "Do you think they'll come back?" he asked. Nathan shook his head. "Maybe, but we are ready. Humans have learned, adapted, and proven themselves. The Korath will not forget this day." Laura looked at the horizon where the Xiphorian ships had vanished. "They will tell others," she said. "Other civilizations will hear about humans, about how Earth defends life." Nathan nodded. "Yes, and the galaxy will know that humans are not to be underestimated." Kayla and Saren returned briefly before leaving, sharing a final moment with the humans. "Thank you," Kayla said softly. "Humans, brave. Protect life," Saren added. "We will remember. Earth, safe. Because of you." Nathan placed a hand on Saren's shoulder. "Go safely. And remember, courage and cleverness are powerful. Use them well." The desert returned to its quiet state. The wind blew softly across the dunes, carrying the scent of sand and life. Humans and Xiphorians had survived, not because of the strongest weapons, but because of the courage to fight for what was right. The battle had ended, but the story of Earth's bravery had just begun. Nathan Brooks and Laura Bennett stood at the edge of the facility, watching the sun rise over the desert. They had faced an enemy far stronger than themselves, and they had won. Not because of firepower or technology alone, but because humans could think, adapt, and fight for life. And far above, in the stars, the Korath fleet had learned a lesson they would never forget.